Thank you very much, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, indeed, it's a pity I'm not in Gdansk today, and I always have great affection to this conference because Gambit 2004 is the conference where I made my first presentation ever. So this is where it all started. Now, just to, okay, I should have control of my presentation. Okay, yes. A very quick word about the European Transport Safety Council and what we do. Obviously, mainly monitoring EU transport safety policy and influencing transport safety policy. Then we have a list of projects. I would only raise your attention to the first two on the top, the Road Safety Performance Index, that is monitoring the road safety performance of member states, and most of the current presentation will be based on data which are collected within this report, and for which I'm also grateful to the Motor Transport Institute in Warsaw that is a partner in this project, but also the EU Road Safety Exchange. This is relatively new, and it's a project financed by the European Parliament, run by the European Commission with the support of the ETSC. And it's a project about real exchange of activities, of expertise, of experts between various European countries. And I am delighted to say that Poland is one of these countries. But time is not long, so let me go deep into the presentation, starting, unfortunately, with the very sad figures which we have to show every time. These are the numbers for deaths and seriously injured in the European Union for the latest available year, that is 2019. There is a European target to halve the number of road deaths between 2010 and 2019. Well, you see that the desired progress for what is now the EU 27 would have been 46.4%. Unfortunately, the EU 27 average reduction has been 23.7%. There are some member states with impressive reductions. Look, for example, at Greece with 44%, others in which the reduction is less good than we would have liked to see, and regrettably also others which have seen an increase in these last 9 years. When it comes to Poland with a 26% reduction, this is slightly better than the EU 27 average, 23.7%, but still a bit far from the green zone in the table. And regrettably, the EU target is most likely out of reach. You see the dotted line, that is the curve showing us where our performance should be right now, and the solid line, which on the other hand shows that after an encouraging start in the decade, the curve has flattened, and we're now far away from reaching the target. At the beginning, we would have needed a 6.7% average yearly reduction to reach the target. Now, in order to reach this in the last year, we would need a reduction in all the member states of the European Union of 34.5%, which is almost impossible to reach, certainly because of the lockdown, because of the consequences of the COVID-19 crisis. There will be some reductions in the various member states, but certainly not for the good reasons, not as a consequence of strong road safety policies. And This is, on the other hand, the graph showing the number of deaths per million population, and you can see that we move from dark green to green, yellow, orange, and red. And unfortunately, in the European Union, we still are far from having a full green, from having a situation whereby we are safe, irrespective of the countries we live in or we are traveling to. What is waiting for us in the next decade, in the decade 2020-2030? Well, I have tried to list here some of the key challenges. You will not be surprised, nothing particularly new. These are the usual suspects. We need to improve our data. We need to work on not only on deaths, but also on serious road traffic injuries. And then I put on top of the list also vulnerable road users and urban road safety. This is something obviously that emerged clearly post-lockdown, post-COVID crisis, with many people moving to different ways of transport, to soft modes, which, however, need to be on the one side encouraged, on the other side also protected, if we want to make sure that they become also safer and not only sustainable. Of course, speed, drink and drunk driving, the usual suspects, distraction, vehicle safety, infrastructure, traffic law enforcement, and training. For obvious reasons, I will not talk in the remaining part of the presentation about all of these key challenges. I've just listed a few which I would like to bring to your attention. Again, first and foremost, it's incredibly important that in the years to come we concentrate on protecting the lives of those that are most vulnerable. And each year in the European Union we kill more than 5,000 pedestrians and more than 2,000 cyclists, and 47%, almost half of those who are killed on the roads of the EU are vulnerable road users. And the presentation is not, yes, and if we look at the reduction in road deaths since 2010, well, we see that there has been a good reduction for car occupants, 24%, good also for power two-wheelers, 20%, and then, well, pedestrians, 19%, and cyclists, well, the figures have stagnated, so no reduction, stressing once again how important it is to deal with vulnerable road users. Another important priority is speed. Speed in the EU still remains widespread. In free-flowing traffic on urban roads, between 35% and 75% of drivers exceed the speed limit. This is between 9 and 63% on rural non-motorway roads, and on motorways between 23 and 59% of people exceed the speed limits. Of course, speed is something that needs to be tackled at all levels. Well, I'm thinking about urban speed limits, and I'm thinking about enforcement, I'm thinking about education, I'm thinking about infrastructure, but let me also spend some word on this important achievement of European legislation, the EU General Safety Regulation, which will mandate from 2022 for new types and 2024 for all new vehicles this new technology, intelligent speed assistance, which will help the driver to respect the speed limits. However, for this to be extremely effective, for this to be saving lives, well, we need the delegated acts which are basically now deciding the details of this technology to to prescribe a technology that has very high technical standards. I wrote here the highest technical standards are needed. Another priority which is far from being off the list is drink driving, with 25% of all road deaths in the EU alcohol-related, and with 5,000 deaths that could be saved every year if all drivers had been sober, well, we cannot neglect this important area of road safety work. And there is also a role here for the European Union. We've been asking for legislation on setting zero tolerance when it comes to the PAC limit, and a common PAC limit for the European Union, but also making use of technology. The General Safety Regulation, which I mentioned before, has the possibility of retrofitting to vehicles alcohol interlocks when this is needed, and for this we encourage member states to have this possibility as much as possible to develop programs for offenders and those who cannot separate drinking from driving. On the other hand, we would also like to see alcohol interlocks mandatory for professional drivers. Drugs are also an important area to concentrate on. While illicit drugs were found in 15% of road deaths in the European Union. Unlike alcohol, where there is only one substance, for drugs this is more difficult. However, there are ways of enforcing legislation, and it is, however, important that investments are made in enforcement on drug driving and also on training of operators, on training of policemen to use the technologies which help to prevent drug driving. And I would also like to spend some words on what is coming, on the way the roads will look in 10 years from now. The word of automated, of connected mobility, of course, we cannot stop progress. This will eventually come. But while automated and connected mobility has the potential of improving road safety, we also have to admit that technology is not fully ready, and it is important that there is a comprehensive EU regulatory framework to make sure that when we move to automated mobility, to connected mobility, well, this is done in a safe way. Basically, we aiming to have automated vehicles that are equivalent to the best human drivers. And when it comes to current policy work on the next decade, well, let me also stress the importance of this document, the EU Road Safety Policy Framework for the next decade, 2030, which was published in June 2019 by the European Commission. And I do encourage you to read it unless you've done it already, but very important to stress the new target to halve road deaths, which for the first time is coupled to a target to reduce by half the number of serious road traffic injuries. And also noteworthy is that for the first time the EU is meant to work with a set of key performance indicators, which I have listed in this slide. There will be an indicator on speed, one on safety belts, one on protective equipment, one on alcohol, one on distraction, one on vehicle safety, one on infrastructure, and one on post-crash care. For this, what will be extremely important, of course, is not only the definition of these indicators, but mainly the data collection, the data that will have to come from the member states. And this is also an encouragement to member states to strongly and strictly cooperate with the European Commission in providing data for these performance indicators, which will certainly help road safety policy making and help us improve road safety in the European Union. That was clearly a 10-minute snapshot on what is the situation, what is coming in the European Union. For more details, I do refer you to the publications of the ETSC. Thank you very much.